Hi, my name is Ido, and I want to talk to you about my new section in my channel, Save the Dungeon Master. Players do unexpected things. Sometimes they take it to the extreme. I remember one campaign that I started. The very first session went completely off track. That I had to basically take my notes, throw them, and improvise an entire first session to my players. Now, I managed to save that game because I have a secret weapon that I want to share with you today. And basically that secret weapon is this mini module or mini adventure or mini session that I prepare when I have the time. It's basically 2 pages of information. I file it in my DM's binder and I pull it out in case of need. What do you do when your players take a really unexpected turn? And I'm not talking about, talking to a different NPC than what you have planned. I'm talking about, you have prepared this wonderful adventure. I don't know, they should have been exploring a castle up in the mountain, but instead they decided to do a 180 turn and investigate some caves in the river. In that derailed campaign, I basically planted some rumors that speak about an army amassing to the north, and I wanted them to go south to join with those countries who are preparing for that invasion. But instead of doing that, they simply said, okay, there's an army to the north, we'll simply go there. And I basically had to kind of turn around my map and run all the encounters and all the locations as if I planned them to be up in the north, but it wasn't really the case. But what do you do in that session, like in that moment when they say something, like they want to go to a place, they want to investigate a plot hook that maybe you've planted, I don't know, 5 sessions ago and you've completely forgotten about it? What happens when they want to do something that you have zero ability to, pull some material and work with it? So I have 5 tips and I'll share them with you right now. So the first tip is simply roll with it. The last thing you want to do to your players is to railroad them. And railroading is basically like reading reading a book with no ability to change the outcome of a scene or make a decision that is important to the way the game flows. So whatever you do, you want to roll with it and allow the players to actually take control of the story, even if it means that this session is going to be completely improvised. And improvisation is difficult, it's not easy. And if you are watching my Storm King's Thunder campaign, you know the story, you know that like half of what I do is improvised. And that's fine because I'm letting my players sometimes take the reins and do what they want. So I really recommend that you simply roll with it. Now, how to roll with it, without taking any punches. So the second tip is know your campaign. So if it's a published campaign or if it's something that you have done, I really recommend that you know the campaign, that you understand the story. And what I do is I usually summarize it in one sentence. For example, Storm King's Thunder is, giants are trying to take over the world. This is it. And that summary allows me to improvise easily, because whatever I do, whatever encounter I invent, or whatever NPC I have the characters encounter, that one sentence is always there and it can help me direct a scene in a way that I feel like. Now, it's not always the case. Not every scene and every NPC has to be tied to your campaign and story, but it helps. It's like improvising over a musical piece when you know the melody. Okay, so think about the melody of the Pink Panther. right? So if I ask you to improvise, like sing something on top of it, since you know the tune, it will be, you know, the melody, it will be easy for you to improvise it. So it's kind of the same thing. I hope you follow me. Simply summarize the campaign in one sentence. It will help you to improvise whatever needs to be improvised. The third tip is to run what if scenarios. So when I'm writing or designing or thinking of a session, I always try to think, you know, I'm preparing this encounter or I'm thinking about a scene. I always think about what if the players won't bite the hook? What if they kill an NPC instead of talk to him? What if they talk to an NPC instead of kill him? What happens if they ignore the dungeon? What happens if they, you know, don't find the secret door? So I always ask myself, what if the players will do something unexpected? And to mitigate that, I always plan a little bit more than what I need. So if I'm preparing a dungeon, I might design, you know, a close by village, or I might think about two other adventurers that are investigating that same dungeon, or I might think of another group of monsters who is trying to get into the dungeon to live in it. So I will design a little bit beyond what I initially thought that I need. So in case the players do something mildly unexpected, I can throw in that new encounter or that new twist on the same environment and story. So this helps a lot. The fourth tip is a little bit risky, but it's worth doing, but don't do it too much because the players will definitely notice. So if the players say, okay, we are ignoring this plot hook and we want to go that way, that's fine. I'm introducing, like 5 minutes later, an NPC that will simply try to question him, not interrogate them, but simply talk to them. Okay, so why are you going where you're going to? What are you trying to find? Basically, what's your goal? And I use this encounter to kind of ask the players what they really want without letting them know that this is what I'm doing. So if they, I've decided that I've planned an encounter or a scene in a city and they decided to leave the city without thinking about it too much, then they will meet a merchant right outside of town that will say, hey, what's happening in the city you're just leaving? I'm just heading there. Anything I need to be prepared for? And during the conversation, I might ask them, okay, so where are you going? What's so interesting to a group of adventurers like you? And they might say, oh, we want to visit the library, or this city is boring. We want to find adventure someplace else. Maybe they'll even ask him, do you have a job for adventurers? So I'll try to kind of get those answers from them using an NPC that is actually doing the questioning. It doesn't always help, but sometimes they provide really good tips or really good answers that I can use to kind of roll with what they give me and basically plan an interesting encounter for them. The last tip, this is the secret weapon I'm talking about, is what I do is between sessions, when I have the time, I take something like an hour or 2 hours and I prepare a 2-sided page basically describing an unrelated adventure, or better say an unrelated scene that I can pull and throw at the players when they do something really unexpected. It's usually 2 hooks or 1 hook and 3 encounters with NPCs and then a very small dungeon. And I keep it very, very short and summarized. I don't expand it a lot, but I have several of these prepared ahead of time, and if I pull enough of them, they form an arc, like an additional story arc above what the campaign is telling you to do. In order for you to use that idea, I actually published or I am publishing those scenarios in the Dungeon Masters Guild. So I'll put a link in this video and probably in the description too. It's pay what you want, so you can simply go there, download it, look at it, and file it in your DM's binder. And when your players are doing something completely unexpected, this is a session you can improvise that is unrelated to your campaign. It's a skeleton of a session, so you'll need to flesh it out a little bit, but you can do it online, like use the Dungeon Master Guide. There are all kinds of random table to stock a dungeon or to devise an NPC in an instant. So, but the story is there. Like you have a story, you have a couple of NPCs, you have a villain of a sort, and you have a dungeon that is basically mapped out for you. So you can pull it, and this is a random session. Like I'm speaking about random encounters, but this can fill up a session. So this is something that I use. I keep it in my binder, and every 4 to 5 adventures, when the players are doing something really unexpected, I have nothing prepared, I pull it up, I run it, and then I come prepared for the next session. Also, if your players are really predictive, and even if everything is going fine, it's sometimes interesting to pull out a session that isn't related to the campaign to allow them to breathe a little bit and experience something different, and then they can return to the campaign. So just to summarize, roll with anything the players give you. You need to enjoy the unexpected. This is part of our life as dungeon masters. Keep the story and the campaign idea summarized in one sentence. It will help you improvise. When planning a session, run an what if questions. What if the players do this? What if they ignore my hook and do that? And you can expand a little bit beyond what the initial, the core idea of your session is. So if the players do something unexpected, you still have some material to use. And try to use your players' ideas. Sometimes they are telling you exactly what they are looking for, so you can simply give it to them. And if they don't do it, you can plan an encounter with someone who can actually ask them, okay, so what's your plan? And you can jot down what they're saying and roll off of that. And last tip, use my Save the Dungeon Master episode 1 material in the Dungeon Masters Guild. I'll provide the link. It's pay what you want. You can simply download it and use it in your next campaign when the players try to derail it. So good luck, and I hope this is helpful for you.